manager from Atlanta Divorce Law Group, Jeanette Soltis. And tonight we have a topic that Jeanette and I have been waiting for a while to talk about because we've been seeing a lot of our clients struggle with this. And that is for all of our clients out there and everybody in the community out there that's dealing with living with a narcissist or somebody with a high conflict personality while they're in quarantine due to COVID-19. And even though this is part of our We Won't Back Down series in response to COVID-19, where we want to be of support to our community and give as much information and resources out there, this issue is really not that special or particular to COVID-19, because what's interesting about people who are living with a high conflict personality spouse or narcissist is they're already feeling incredibly isolated. They're already feeling like they've been separated from family and friends, and their spouse or partner, who is the high conflict personality, has really done everything to cut off all the other relationships. So the quarantine is really just a magnifying already that experience that they're having. Jeanette, you, as our litigation manager, you handle some extremely complex cases with some complex personalities involved as well, high conflict personality cases. So thank you so much for joining me, first of all, to do this, because you're going to be such a source to talk this through with.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's go through just step by step how we can guide somebody through this. First of all, you and I are not psychologists. We are attorneys, but this is a common problem we are facing for a lot of our clients. So we have the information that we've studied up and we've shared with our clients, and just also some experience of going through these cases. With the caveat that you don't have a psychology degree, neither do I, can you from a high level kind of go over what is a narcissist and what kind of personality disorder are we talking about? What are some signs?
So a narcissist, the basis of it is just an extreme insecurity. And because of that insecurity, they have a need to feel important, and they compensate for that. So often they're very arrogant. They may be extremely successful because they've really driven themselves to succeed to offset that insecurity. And within relationships, often they feel better about themselves by putting the other person down. And they may even try to sabotage the other person, gaslight the other person. They may purposely say hurtful things to the other person, try to keep them down. And those are just overall big picture, some very common traits of a narcissist.
And I think what you brushed upon was so important, the fact that they are very high achieving, and out in public, they're incredibly charming.
Yes.
And this is what kind of also makes the person who's with them feel crazy when they feel like this person is probably abusive, but most likely your family and friends are telling you that I love this guy. This guy's wonderful.
Yes, they can be very charming and manipulative, and they know how to turn things around to make you feel like you're the crazy one.
I think one of the psychology books you had once recommended, I forget the name of it, because you and I have done videos and done webinar on narcissists before, specifically said that there are two modes they treat you in. Either you are the most useless, pathetic person they've ever met, or you are just a gem and they're going to make you feel like the most special person.
That's called splitting. And it's not specific to narcissists. A lot of personality disorders, there's some overlap, and there's also some combined personality disorders. But splitting is the inability to see that there are both positive and negative things within the same person. Either, everything's black and white. So when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, they either see you as perfect and amazing, or you are just horrible. And you can see that swing within just a few moments. If they just get upset at you for something little, suddenly they can go to just this really angry place where they see you very differently. And it can be very confusing for the person in the relationship with them.
And so obviously with the quarantine, like we mentioned earlier, people that are in a relationship with a narcissist or high conflict personality, they're already feeling incredibly isolated. They've probably at some point have had to cut off a lot of relationships because their spouse didn't like that person. They didn't want to share the attention
Mm-hmm.
with another person in your life. And it was, you probably have exhausted yourself to maintain to this relationship so hard that you haven't been able to maintain any other friendships.
Mm-hmm.
Or you've just felt they've questioned your judgment so much. Can you talk a little bit about, because this is going to be really key in a legal case with a narcissist, how much they make the person question themselves, make the healthy person, make their victim or whatever you want to call it, constantly question everything about themselves and their own decision making.
Yeah. So one thing that's important to understand is a narcissistic rage. And this is, there's a honeymoon period in a relationship with a narcissist. And that's when they're seeing you as perfect and you see them as perfect. They're successful, charming. If you're watching this video, you started to figure them out. And that means that tide is turning and the narcissist is scared of you leaving them. And you might be the brunt of what's called narcissistic rage, where they want to keep you under their control. So if you are considering leaving a relationship, that is when the manipulation and the control just gets so much stronger. So I see this all the time in divorce cases where they know, they've learned how to push the buttons of the person they're in a relationship with. Chances are, this isn't like a 6-month relationship. If you're divorcing, you've been together for a while. They have learned you, they have watched you, and they have learned exactly how to control you. And they are going to turn that up a whole bunch when you're about to divorce them. So they're going to turn that up and turn up that manipulation to try to keep you under their control. And some of the ways they'll do, and they will straight out lie to you. They'll say, I talked to my attorney, and my attorney says that your attorney is the worst in all of Georgia and knows absolutely nothing. And that if you leave me, you're not going to have a dime to your name, and I'm going to get 100% of all the assets because of, and it's like some stupid reason, but it's your pain point. And
Right.
because that's your pain point, and they know it, it really can like hit you where it really hurts.
Yeah, because we all have a pain point. And then, like you said, the narcissist has studied your pain points. And when it's coming from your spouse, the pain point's coming from somebody you're married to or in isolation with, it hurts even more. So to your point, one of the examples I can think of right now is a case where client had not worked for a few years and for medical reasons had not worked for a couple of years. And her husband had convinced her that because of these 2 years that you did not work, like 5-6 years ago, no court's going to give you anything. And the reasons she had not worked for those 2 years were a big pain point for her. The medical condition she was in a big pain point for her. And she was terrified and truly had questioned herself, her own worth, her own value of, will anybody look at me and say that I deserve a fair shake in the division of assets? Will anybody look at me and even consider that I'd also deserve 50-50 on this house, or, that I should have any involvement in my own children's life because of 2 years of a medical absence from work, years ago.
And it can be incredible seeing the amount of power that the narcissist or the spouse with a personality disorder has over their spouse. To the point where a lot of times their lies will overweigh very solid and knowledgeable legal advice, but they've just been so manipulated that it's just easy to fall into that pattern again.
And I think it's important for people that are hearing this who may not be living with a narcissist or be married to a narcissist, but they're listening to this because maybe they know somebody that they want to give help to. This is not a unique problem to victims of narcissism who aren't intelligent, who aren't educated. Actually, what we have seen is some incredibly high intelligent, high performing professionals fall for this kind of a personality or find themselves in these marriages. So it's not at all a reflection of somebody's intelligence. It's really a reflection of how much awareness do you have that somebody has your pain point button at their hand and they're using it to hurt you not to help you.
And this is why I really encourage people to get into therapy if you're in a relationship with someone where you even suspect there's any personality disorder, because getting into therapy can help have that neutral person who knows psychology and really knows the narcissist to help point out your blind spots and point out when your buttons are being pushed so you can't be as easily manipulated.
So let's go through some of the lies that a narcissist tells right at that point that you pointed out, which is they're aware that you may leave them. Mm-hmm. And now the manipulation gets escalated so much higher, and your defenses, if they're not really sharp and you're not fully aware, and if you're not in therapy, to your point, you could really fall for their lies, because these are the lies we're hearing coming to us from our clients who are with the narcissist, and these are exactly where their questions are coming from. And you wonder, where are you hearing this? Because it's insane what they're telling you, but they've really manipulated them. So first lie, there's the financial lie and the abuse, which is you're not going to survive without me. Can you walk through that?
Yeah, well, and the important thing to remember about the narcissist is they want to be the savior. They want to be the like macho, important person, where, really the basis of all of these lies is you're not going to be okay without me. So one of the ways is financial. The court's never going to give you enough money for you to live off of. And, I'm going to get 100% of everything. You're not going to be okay. You can't work. You're useless. You can't, for whatever reasons, you're not going to be able to support yourself. And that's a big one, to make you feel like you're financially dependent on them and they have to be the hero and support you.
Yeah, and I've seen this work out in two ways. If you're the one that is the breadwinner in the family, the narcissist is going to tell you that no courts, and you have children, they're going to use your children against you and say, the court's not going to give you the kids. You're going to lose your children against me. And they'll tell you all sorts of lies and use your pain point to tell you why you're going to lose your children. If you're the one that's not the breadwinner, and he or she is, the narcissist is, then they're going to use the financial abuse that you won't survive financially without me. And nobody's going to give you the full 50-50. And they tell these lies about the house is going to be mine. You're not going to see any spousal support and so forth. You need to see an attorney. These are all most likely lies. And we hear them over and over again.
So there's the financial, then like you mentioned, there's the children. If they're not the breadwinner, then it could be, they've been around the kids more. However they want to twist it. Maybe they haven't worked as much. So, the court is never going to let you see the kids because I've been the one around. Or there's so many ways they can manipulate that situation. So you can think that the kids are going to be in his custody or her custody. Or they're going to get sole custody. You're not going to be able to see them, which that's just not the way the system works. And then
another one, Jeanette, that we've seen in our cases, and I know I can think of a few of your cases in the firm, is saying that turning the kids against you.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can try to do that. And that's why another reason why therapy is so important, also for the kids who are going through divorce, but especially in a situation where you have a personality disorder in place, it's really best to get the kids into therapy to make sure those relationships stay intact.
So let's go through some legal options that are available right now, because I could imagine a narcissist will also tell somebody that's about to leave, well, the courts are shut down right now because of the virus or the pandemic. You're not going to be able to do anything. You and I've had videos where we talked about the courts are operating, divorces are being filed, divorces are being settled. There are legal options. Divorce is still an option if you find yourself wanting to leave. First step, you mentioned therapy.
Yes, it's great to get into therapy to help yourself get some clarity and to help yourself recognize when you're being manipulated and lied to. And that will help you during the legal process. The more you can separate that emotional aspect and the manipulation from the legal process, the more you're able to make good decisions for yourself in your legal case.
And I would say that one of the big gifts of therapy is have your therapist go through with you you may not even be aware of what your pain points are.
Yeah.
But if you are aware of what they are, then when somebody's mentioning that, uh-oh, I got to be aware of myself right now.
Yeah.
And you can reclaim power back by becoming aware of yourself and how you're almost letting instinct guide you into fear rather just truth letting you see that this person's abusing something that you've shared with them to hurt you, and you may not even be aware what that pain point is until you get some therapy on it.
Exactly.
I would really recommend hiring a legal team that has worked with narcissists on the other side.
For sure.
Because you can talk from your own experience, the charm these guys or women put on when they come into mediation, when they come into court. And if your team is not prepared for that.
Yeah, and there's a certain way to cross-examine a narcissist and to trap them into their lies. And you need to have someone who's experienced with handling that situation, for sure.
Yeah, because they'll come in and for an underexperienced divorce attorney, they'll try to charm your divorce attorney as well into liking them. They can't help themselves. Let's talk about picking your battles, because that's a big one in a legal case all across the board about how to pick your battles so that you're not losing the war for the small battles. And it's a big part of the conversation we have with clients in order to make sure that they feel like they're within a budget for their legal fees, and also within a time frame of getting all this done and move on with their life. So can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, well, in any divorce, it's just really important to decide what are your priorities, what are your higher priorities, and what's not as important. There's always going to need to be some compromise, especially in talking about going to mediation and trying to get a case settled. You're just going to have to prioritize. And then in picking battles with a narcissist, one important thing to understand is they are never going to see that they're wrong. They're never going to apologize. So if you're going to the legal case hoping that there's going to be remorse, that if we take a certain legal tactic and they're going to feel bad, that is not going to happen. And you have to just learn to accept that and to let go of it and focus on the battles that we can actually win. And that's not one of them. They're not going to apologize. They're not going to feel sorry.
I love that you said that, because one of the big messages we always try to get across to our clients so that they don't blow up the next 5 years of their life in litigation and lose all their financial assets on divorce attorneys and this process is that this process will not give you retribution.
Yeah.
It will not give you, it will never come and say, Jeanette, you've been the good girl. So-and-so, you've been the bad guy and you were a narcissist and you've been a wonderful wife or you've been a wonderful husband and she's been awful to you. Yeah. You could spend a fortune on legal fees and you'll never receive that.
Exactly.
The other thing is documenting everything. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. And that's important in every family law case, but it's also even more important when you're divorcing someone who's a narcissist or a personality disorder, because they try to manipulate the truth. They try to spin things to show fault where there's not fault. So in these cases, documentation and doing as much discussion as you can in writing, text message, email, don't make it verbal where it's he said, she said, because you don't want to have a story that's he said, she said on the stand with a charming, manipulative narcissist. You need to have the proof behind all of the facts. And that's why documentation is so important, especially in this situation.
So the person who's ready to get out of this situation and is done, let's talk about their options for leaving, because the narcissist has probably also lied to them and said, if you leave me, it's going to be called abandonment. They're going to say that you've abandoned the household. You're going to not have anything.
I hear that at least once a week. And it blows my mind, where it's like, they told me if I leave, it's abandonment and I get nothing. That is made up. But it's such a common lie.
Yeah, that's just a lie. And if you have a minor child and you're still married and you're with a narcissist, they tell you, I will call the cops and they will come get you for kidnapping. Let's debunk that myth.
Yes, when you're married and have a child, you each have equal rights to that child. No law enforcement officer is going to arrest you or make a very big deal out of you taking the child somewhere. Now, don't obviously disappear with the child, but if you need to leave for a week and get your head clear, that's fine. And don't let them tell you otherwise.
Right. And just to also go further with your documentation, document through text message or email that you let the person know where you went and you gave them access to communicate with their child if they needed to. You're not going to get in trouble for that.
Exactly.
Jeanette, is there anything else that we can shed some light on here for people that are going through this?
And if you're wanting to leave, gather as many documents as you can to reflect the abuse, the manipulation, your assets, debt, and come talk to an attorney. Come get guidance. Coming and talking to an attorney doesn't mean you're moving forward right now. And there are other things we can do in addition to divorce. If you're not ready to divorce, we might be able to do a postnuptial agreement. There are so many options, and it can be great to just sit down with an attorney and talk through those options so you feel empowered and know that you're not stuck, and know that these are lies and you're going to be fine. No one should be stuck in a miserable marriage. And all these lies they've told you about how you're dependent on them and how much you need them is a load of crap. You're going to be fine. And talk to an attorney, talk to a therapist, and build a life that you're happy with. Don't stay unhappy.
And to your point, even if you just talk to an attorney so that an attorney can give you a consultation to shed light on the legal lies, to open up your eyes, just do it for that reason.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, get some allies in your life.
Yeah.
Some friends or family that you can trust, that when this is the big problem with the narcissist, is even after you've left them, even if after you've walked away, they've programmed you to question yourself so much because you've been with them for so many years. And even when they're out of the picture, their programming in your head stays there. So they've done the job. They don't need to be around anymore the mental abuse to continue that you're now doing to yourself because they've programmed you to question yourself. And that's when you need a team of allies on your side, whether that's your family, friends, a good attorney or therapist to put the truth in front of you and say, hey, snap out of it. That's not your voice in your head. That's the liar's voice in your head. Exactly. Well, Jeanette, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me in on this. And please do reach out to us if you have any questions. Like I said, the quarantine only magnifies a situation that already was there for people who are living in this kind of a situation. And there are many options for moving forward with your life. And we'll be happy to help you if you have any questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.